The secret of happiness is a heart kept open to the stranger.
Good morning, dear friends. Welcome to today's morning's Satsang. We are privileged to have with us Brahmachari Dr. Aditya. He is a spiritual director of Ananda Sangha Pune. He is also one of the trustees of Ananda Sangha India. He is a medical practitioner. He has run charitable rural clinics and free medical camps in villages. He has worked in the surgical and emergency department, medical departments for a few years. He joined Ananda Sangha in 2008. Apart from the regular Pune community operations, Dr. Aditya shares the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. He is a certified meditation teacher and also certified yoga teacher. He holds workshops in colleges, institutions, and corporate workshops on health, healing, and other topics, health and healing being his favorite topic, that being his specialty. I have attended some of his workshops. They are excellent. So without much ado, I pass on today's session to Dr. Aditya. I welcome you here. Good morning, Dr. Aditya.
Good morning, Jayanti. Thank you so much. And a good morning to all of you, friends. It's really a joy to begin the Sunday morning with the satsang. I have to say, I really like the timing. It's early, and I was seeing there are people already online. And of course, it should not come as a surprise. But since we have not done something so early over here in Pune, it's really nice to see the participation. So what we're going to do, friends, is, as perhaps most of you know, we're going to chant some, meditate for about 15 minutes. And then the subject for this morning from Swami Kriyanandaji's book, Rays of the One Light, is reason versus intuition. And so we're going to see what Yoganandaji, Swami Kriyanandaji, what do they say about this beautiful subject, which we use on a minute-by-minute basis, So let us first start together with some chanting and meditation, and then we will launch into the subject. Please join me. Let's sing this chant, Om Namah Shivaya, which very simply also translates as I bow to the destroyer of delusion, false understanding, ignorance. And in this beautiful subject of reason versus intuition, let us invoke the grace, the presence of, God, gurus through this beautiful mantra. Let's offer a prayer together. Divine Mother, Heavenly Father, greatest friend, beloved God, great masters, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashai, Swami Shri Yukteswar Ji, beloved Guru, Paramhans Yogananda Ji, saints and sages of all religions, we humbly bow before you all. Beloved masters, help us dive deep in your teachings, understanding them, applying them in our daily lives through daily meditation, service, and devotion. Help us calm our hearts, still our minds and bodies, that we may hear thy soul whispers to us, thy eternal guidance, and that we may feel thee and thy guidance through our ever deepening intuition. We are your disciples and children. Bless our efforts today and always. Om Shanti. Let us do a couple chants more. of thy Guru's lotus feet. Night has flown, dawn has come. Wake my children, wake my children, wake. Sitting in the asana of meditation, sitting in the asana of meditation, thinking of thy Guru's lotus feet, thinking of thy Guru's lotus feet. Night has flown, dawn has come. Wake my children, wake my children, wake. Sitting in the asana of meditation, sitting in the asana of meditation, thinking of thy Guru's lotus feet, thinking of thy Guru's lotus feet. Sitting in the asana of meditation, sitting in the asana of meditation, thinking of thy Guru's lotus feet, thinking of thy Guru's lotus feet. Night has flown, dawn has come. Wake my children, wake. And finally, friends, let's take this chant, door of my heart, into our meditation. We will meditate for about 15 minutes. And as Master suggested, there are so many different ways to draw calmness and intuition in our lives. Meditation, chanting, Guru's grace. But it all begins with opening our door, the door of our heart. So let's sing this chant with devotion, calm devotion, with faith, knowing that God will answer our prayers through this chant. Let's sing this together, feeling the oneness that we are all doing this satsang together. Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. Wilt thou come, just for once come to me? Wilt thou come, just for once come to me? Will my days fly without seeing thee, my Lord? Will my days fly without seeing thee, my Lord? Night and day, I look for thee. Night and day, I look for thee. Night and day. Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. Door of my heart, open wide I keep for thee. Wilt thou come, just for once come to me? Wilt thou come, just for once come to me? Will my days fly away without seeing thee, my Lord? Will my days fly away without seeing thee, my Lord? Night and day, I look for thee. Night and day. Night and day, I look for thee. Night and day. Wilt thou come, just for once come to me? Door of my heart, open wide I keep for Let us now, friends, sit upright. Let's take a double breath. Tense all the tissues of the body. Breathe out. Let's do this a few times. Breathing in vitality, energy, wakefulness. Breathe out. Sending out any remnants of sleep, lethargy, out with the exhaling breath. Breathe in. Breathe out. One last time. Now let's sit upright, away from the back of the chair, keeping the palms upturned on the thigh. Gently draw the shoulder blades behind. Have a cushion. Let's draw the shoulder blades behind, expanding the heart and area of the chest, opening it up. And now let's scan the body, relaxing anywhere we might be holding tension. The spine, the arms, abdomen, shoulders. Relax them all. Finally, the face and forehead especially. Let us relax. Let's close our eyes. And let's meditate together, friends. Mentally repeating one of those chants or our prayer or practicing any technique of meditation. Let's do this for about 15 minutes. Leave at least 5 to 7 minutes in the end here to feel the stillness, calmness of heart. As Yogananda ji said, it is when we sit in the after meditation state, in the state of calmness, after practicing our techniques, that we develop intuition. Let's leave that time after techniques. Let's begin together now. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Welcome once again, friends. So today's reading is on the subject of reason versus intuition. And Kriyanandaji writes in this book, Rays of the One Light, truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. Jesus, when addressing his critics, appealed to reason and common sense. In training of the disciples, however, he, like all great masters, encouraged in them the development of a higher faculty, soul intuition. For it is only by intuition that spiritual perceptions are achieved. In chapter 16 of the Gospel of St. Matthew, we find Jesus drawing on the intuition of his disciples by asking them who they thought he was in reality. They immediately understood that he wanted from them what he wanted was a subtle answer, not some obvious reply based on his nationality, sex, and the like. Peter it was, at last, who understood and answered the question on its intended level, the spiritual. Thou art the Christ, he said, the Son of the living God. And Jesus turned to him, saying, Blessed art thou, Simon, son of Jonah, for not by human nature was this truth revealed to thee, but by my heavenly Father. And I tell thee this also, thou art Peter, which is to say, a rock. Peter comes from Pietra, it means rock. And upon this rock I will build my church, and never will the powers of darkness overwhelm it. Jesus was pleased with his disciple for relating to the question on its deepest level. Reason could not have given Peter that answer. The answer came through the faculty of soul intuition and proved him thereby to be a spiritually advanced disciple. It was his intuitive perception, that insight which cannot be shaken by tempests of reasonable doubts, that Jesus praised in referring to him as a rock. The church he referred to next was the edifice of cosmic consciousness. Any outer church institution would have to depend, as in fact the Christian churches have always done, on the level of understanding of its individual leaders and members. Peter's intuitive perceptions could never have been passed on to an outward succession of prelates. Clarity comes by direct soul perception. Confusion results from excessive dependence on reason as the guide to understanding. As the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita states, when your intellect, at present confused by the diversity of teaching in the scriptures, becomes steadfast in the ecstasy of deep meditation, then you will achieve final union with God. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om, 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 Om Shanti. Friends, this is such a beautiful, important, central, you might say, integral subject that in the beginning it didn't strike me as, as such. You think of intuition, and perhaps the reason is intuition comes to us. We say, oh, one time I had that feeling, I had a hunch, and it was right. And we might be talking of some event perhaps years ago. And I will give some examples where everybody, I think universally, has had experiences of deep intuition. It's because I've tested this. And actually, why keep the suspense? Let me share this. Has it happened to you that, and maybe it happened in the lockdown, that you are sitting completely relaxed by yourself? Perhaps it was a Sunday morning like now, except you were not in the satsang or with other people, or you were not engaging your mind actively in something. You were simply by yourself. Maybe it was a vacation you took sometime. And there you are, and suddenly you're physically, mentally, totally relaxed, emotionally relaxed, and this thought comes to you. It could be an intuitive idea. Oh, this is what I should be doing about the challenge I'm facing. Or more particularly, the thought of someone. And you say, hey, I wonder how he's doing or she's doing. I haven't connected in a long time. It could be a relative, it could be a school friend, it could be a best friend. And lo and behold, you bump into them that very evening in the supermarket. Or they call you sometimes in that very minute. Or you hear something about them, or an email comes, so on and so forth. Or you meet them and they say, I don't know why, a few days ago I was thinking about you. This is, or they come in your dream. You see, there are all these expressions where you might say this so-called matter universe of ours, this body of ours, I am separated from my friend who is on the other side of the world. These things in that moment somehow vanish instantly, and we connect with that person, they connect with us, our thoughts, you might say, are merging. There's a beautiful book called Entangled Minds, where a study of over 1,000 such proven cases has tried to make the point that the world is not as fragmented as our senses tell us to be. So has this not happened to you, friends? How do you explain such a thing? People say, oh, it's a coincidence. Okay, but when it happens a bit too often in the life of gurus, and I'm thinking of Sri Yukteswarji and his disciple Paramahansa Yogananda. So many times, Master would get this thought in his mind intuitively, and he would say, my guru is calling me, he's trying to say something. Or as people say, the universe is trying to tell me something. Or more often than fathers, mothers will say, I feel my child is in this challenge or some situation, and they call, and sure enough, it is the case. I saw a documentary some years ago, remarkable story, unfortunately a sad one, where a mother, late in the night just had this feeling, I want to call my son, I want to find out where he is. And when the phone, he was not answering the phone, and again and again and again they called, and they had already spoken after dinner that night. But she had this feeling, I want to talk to him again, I don't think he's okay. And friends, unfortunately, that boy had met with his death around the same time when she was thinking of him. He, down to the minute, because his friends would then later, they joined the dots that, oh yeah, he left us, he was going home, and then they found out that he met with an accident. This documentary was made basically to finish the story, urging young people to wear helmets, because that boy was not wearing a helmet that night. And of course, his parents were so grieved that they put out this small documentary which got an award. And they said, yeah, they were urging people just wear helmets. But I took that message from that story also, that we are connected one to the other, to our friends, relatives, and ultimately the saints say we are connected to God. Now the scriptures do declare in India, Ishwar Ashiddha, God is not provable. So if you knock the door of your next door neighbor and you say, hey, do you want some God experience? Do you want to know God? They may say, no, first of all, I'm not interested. or they may say, what are you talking? Are you okay this morning? Or if you even try to explain it, it doesn't really go, it doesn't go very far. Well, it doesn't go very far in our own lives if we just keep reading books, as even the disciples of Christ realized that they knew him on one level. But when he really, when the rubber meets the road, when he said, who am I? And that question, ultimately, he would tell his disciples to ask also, as any true master says, who are you? Master said we should ask that question. Am I just this body? And let's confess, friends, let's accept it. That question doesn't come to us as easily as we would think it should. It takes a long time. It's like we are on this journey. And when we are going up and down, we don't care about those things. It's only when the path gets really rocky, reflection comes into our mind, we start pondering what's going on really. Or actually, Master said anguishing monotony sets in. What is anguishing monotony? One way to look at it is the soul on some intuitive level gets this feeling, these things are not going to bring me happiness. Somebody tells you, hey, you should go for a vacation. Or I remember as a doctor, I used to have the question on death. What's going on? What happens after death? And some doctors were looking, they're like, what? Go and have a cup of tea. You're thinking too much. Get some rest. You've been working too hard. Things like that. And I would later say, I'm not thinking these questions. These thoughts are coming. And I'm just trying to ponder and look around if someone knows the answer. And but again, the anguishing monotony can be that I've come to this junction before. I've tried the cup of tea. I've tried the rest. I've tried to ignore these questions, but here we come again. They are in front of me. When those things happen, don't brush them aside. The great masters say that it's like, now reasoning is very important. The subject today may suggest, Swami's reading is reason versus intuition. So it may sometimes create a debate in our mind. Oh, I should be intuitive and not follow reason. Well, we should always operate through intuition, but there's nothing against reason. Reason is a step on the ladder which has its own value. Actually, Kriyanandaji once defined intuition very beautifully. It will, I should say, win the hearts and minds of all intellectuals. He said, intuition is simply refined reasoning. That so many times, and let's come to then the discussion of what is reason and what is intuition. How are they? They are like cousins, siblings. Now, reason simply tells us what is what. It's like consciousness, Yogananda said, has certain levels through which it manifests in creation. We have man, the mon over here, buddhi, intellect, ahankar, the ego, and chitta, the feelings in the heart. And Kriyanandaji would say they are steps, they are stages of descent of consciousness. And if we understand them, then we can work on them and go back into cosmic consciousness, which Kriyanandaji's writing comes through intuition. Master defined intuition as the soul's power to know God. That's remarkable. And that's why I'm saying we may have more intuition than we realize, because we do have daily through meditation a perception. Oh, I'm feeling peaceful, I'm feeling calm, I'm feeling joyful. And with that, intuition is developing. Well, how does it manifest outwardly in our lives? Well, friends, Yogananda ji said, reason follows feeling. So let me break that line a little bit. Reason, as I was saying, is okay, this is a light, this is a computer, I am a human body, I have this gender, I understand things in a certain way, I have so and so skill. And those are wonderful things. If people ask you simple questions, like Christ was asking, who am I? Now, again, to outward people, he was appealing to common sense. He would not say, nor would his disciples say, he's Christ, the Son of God. It would not make sense. It would not develop a connection. It's like explaining something which is beyond their interest, perhaps, or beyond their ability to fathom or grasp. So one has to reason has its place. We have to go with reason. And we explain things to the mind, and the mind is satisfied. We could explain things to the ego. Oh, this is my mic, this is my computer, this is my skill, this is my knowledge. And then the chitta comes in. I'm so happy. I have the intellect to understand these things, the means to read. Because remember, friends, these things are expanding our awareness till it comes to the point where the feelings and the ego and the mind are not satisfied with those definitions, those conclusions, those truths, you might say. It has realized because it is not the complete truth. Going back, what is happening when somebody dies? Well, nothing. Somebody may say in exasperation, does God exist? Can people be happy all the time? Might there be behind this form of Jesus Christ, might there be an enlightened master? Some people feel that they see a saint and no words are required to convey what they are. Kriyanandaji used to say, he used to reverse the situation. He used to say, there are so many saints in India who are munis. They never speak. They've taken a lifetime vow of silence. But they have disciples. How do they teach their disciples? Well, it is through consciousness, he would say. Now, again, granted, in these times, we are in an intellectual age where reason is valued very much. Masses, entire populations are trying to understand things. So maybe it won't benefit so much to be in the presence of a Muni. But I have to say, friends, I have met a Muni who was in silence for 60 years. She was a disciple of Neem Karoli Baba. There was a lot of, she was a saint basically. And you could see that we can feel that presence, that, okay, reason can take us so far, but when we are calm, a whole different chapter, you might say, opens in our life. That chapter has different set of questions, different kinds of answers, and it leads us, as that reading was saying, from the physical, from the mental plane, from the plane of disturbed feelings. It takes us into direct individual soul perception, self-realization, God realization, enlightenment, moksha, call it whatever. But that is a realm which, because of our restlessness, perhaps because of mass indifference, we sometimes keep pushing, but it is always there. The masters remind us to be experienced directly by each individual, just like Peter had that experience. And Kriyanandaji was saying, Peter could not, he could only suggest, but he could not pass it. It could just not, just because you create an organization around it, it does not mean that through books and buildings and positions, those things could be passed. So there is a lot of hope over here that the goal of religion is really to inspire individual search. Now, let's understand the steps Yoganandaji suggested, how we can move from reason to intuition, and the highest expression of intuition, not just knowing a friend who is in a happy or a sad mood or some answer, but knowing God ultimately. Like somebody said to Master, do your teachings bring peace? He said, that is the least they offer. Ultimately, my teachings will help people be at peace with the Creator himself, that there is a Creator, he was saying. And often we argue and fight and ignore the Creator or think he's ignoring us. But Master was saying, ultimately, people will make peace with him, understand him. And that is through meditation and such. I'll come to that. Now, friends, a very, very integral line in yoga is yoga's chitta vritti nirodha, the heart's feelings. The chitta, the feelings have to be calmed, Kriyanandaji said. But I want to take a step before this line. The very first aphorism of Patanjali, Yoga Sutras, by the father of yoga, Patanjali, is now we come to the study of yoga. Now we come to the study of yoga. Paramhans Yoganandaji said his Guru Sri Yukteswarji spent 6 months on that first line when he started training Yogananda. 6 months. Why? He would emphasize that word now is extremely important. in order for us to be successful in yoga practice. What does now mean? Now naturally means that before, now we come to the study of yoga. Hence, something else has been under discussion or has been suggested, told. Yogananda ji used to say that there are three main philosophies of India. I won't go into the detail, but the one he would speak mostly over here was Shankhya. That the teachings of Shankhya, in essence, tell us that we are living in a world of duality. It's a hard pill to swallow, again, by the mind, but some reflection, some introspection will help us see that it is reflected in the nature. Night is followed by day. It is reflected in our breath, inhalation, exhalation. It is reflected in our life when we are born. The first thing we do is we inhale and then we cry. And that inhalation is the first thing. When we all will leave this world, we breathe out. Our moods, our states of feelings, happiness, sorrow. From sorrow, people will naturally, worldwide, they'll say, oh, don't worry, things will get better. Failure, success, some failure, maybe on a higher octave. But everything the yogis say, it comes and goes, basically. So if it comes and goes, then where is the joy? We are always trying to look for happiness. It comes, but it goes. So another philosophy, Vedanta, says, where the Vedas end, the way of life they were, that if we live properly, if man lives properly, he can know eternal, everlasting, ever new happiness. He can know himself. He can know the Creator. He can know things as they truly are. We might be living under an illusion, as Shankhya was suggesting. Shankhya, I like to think of it as a very good friend, sincere friend, who is so truthful that sometimes he or she can be annoying. And you say, this is a hard truth, but they are the best things we can have. So Shankhya tells us the bitter truth. Vedanta tells us, oh, this is so hopeful. It is found by some people. You can find it too. And then you say, how? And says, through yoga. So first we have to develop the understanding that things might not be as they are. Keep the door open, as Swami and Master used to say. With that attitude, then we do our yoga practices and we come to that second line, yogas chitta vritti nirodha. Master said so many times, you see, the mind is very tricky. It tells us, I'm thinking this right now. My mind is telling me what to do. But more and more in this age, people are saying, I don't feel right about it. And that is a huge step. We are in a higher age, Master would say. And instead of saying, I don't think it is right, people are saying, I don't feel it is right. There's something about it that is not seeming right. Let me feel this out. And that feeling is the chitta. People may be, and again, are yogis to a much greater degree than they may realize. They may not have gone to a yoga class ever, but if their chitta, if their feelings are calm, you will see those are the people to which others gravitate for advice, for counseling, for friendship, for calmness, for reassurance. Why? Because reason follows feeling. Yogananda ji said, overcome the feelings of likes and dislikes. That happens through meditation. That happens through consciously sometimes making a small list that my attachments, likes and dislikes, and especially, let's say, the dislikes, because they can really shake us in a moment. And here's the important thing, friends. You and I make decisions. Life is nothing but one decision after another. What career should I do? How can I serve people? Where should I settle down in life? Who should I marry? Who should I hire for this job? Who is my friend? Where should I travel? Where should I invest my money? On and on the daily decisions of life go. And Yogananda ji startles us by telling us that our reason, our decision making is guided by our feelings. Now, there's a secret, very profound secret over there also, promise over there. If our feelings are calm, if we overcome our likes and dislikes to the degree we can say, okay, I'm okay with this, I'm okay with that, To that degree, we start hearing what Yogananda ji called whispers from eternity. Our conscious and inner voice may say, hey, this makes sense. Our reason says, yeah, this makes sense. This person, he's not so good in his job right now, but he looks happy and cheerful. It'll be nice to have him in the team. We can train him later on and things. And suddenly you see, for an investment, you may say, statistically, it's not making sense right now, but I feel I'll be happy, I think, if I go with that. And it's a higher kind of happiness. You're not just about that cutthroat profit and loss. You're about supporting a good cause, perhaps. You're about the person who has initiated something nice. Maybe it's an organic food chain they have started. And you say, his food is a bit overpriced, but I like the person. I'd like to support him. There is a friendship. You may not have met the person, but there's a kinship you develop. You support not so much the person, but the cause. And again, Yogananda ji said, the more we calm the feelings, the more our reason gets sharp over here. And that reason, friends, slowly you can see from a reason which likes to, I don't think I'll work with this person or this situation or this job, or in medicine, so many times it happens. People say, because I faced this, people say, oh, I'm going to take this subject, not this subject, or never this subject. Well, if the question is, how can I serve people? Then you simply choose what is the right thing to do. You take it one step higher. You ask God, what do you want me to do? If there is a God, Swami says, people say, God is testing me, God is testing me. We come close to him, we move away. We come close and we then don't talk to him. He said, why don't you test God for a moment? Simply say, Lord, reveal thyself to me. I am open to listening. And that again it requires a very calm heart that is able to perceive the reasoning that God gives. Now, if intuition is refined reasoning, all we have to do is keep working on our feelings, and then our reasoning, the reason follows feeling, becomes intuition, is perfected, a perfection of feelings or calm feelings. Yoga's chitta vritti nirodh, when the chitta is absolutely calmly established, as in the Bhagavad Gita, it says in the state of sthita prajna, when that state of chitta is calm, Krishna says the yogi abides in me steadfastly. As the reading was saying, we are in unbroken God communion. Now, it just doesn't come in one meditation. Of course, we know before God communion, the grace of Guru is what makes it happen. So the grace of the Guru helps us develop intuition, but we have to be open to it. There's this beautiful statement in the Bible. Swami used to repeat it all the time towards the end of his life. The statement is, as many as received him, gave he the power to become sons of God. What is receiving? Receiving means to calm ourselves, to feel ourselves, to open ourselves to that soul intuition, that wisdom which is shining in ourselves. Just a moment here, please. Yeah. Thank you. So, I was saying, as many as received him, gave he the power to become the sons of God. That we want to receive God. What does it mean to receive? Through our prayer, through the kind of chanting we did, to be open to God's will. Kriyananda ji, towards the end of his life, people asked him again and again, how did you accomplish so much, sir? How did you've done so much in terms of writing, lecturing, especially considering that he spent only 3.5 years with Master, and it was not like they were living together. There was a lot of time spent, but still 3.5 years is not too much of a time for somebody who was just 22 years old at that time. And Kriyananda ji said, every morning I pray to God through the eyes, the form of my Guru. I pray, may thy will be done, not mine. That is putting the chitta right on the forefront. What do you want, Guruji? What do you want, Lord? Because friends, if we love someone, you see, devotion can quickly become emotion. So for devotion to be established, we have to ask the object of our devotion, the Guru, God, what do you want? And then the discipline begins. he or she, whichever form you think of God, wants this. They would like it this way. Like Padre Pio said, God is served when he is served the way he likes to be served. And that is what we do something. Now, we may end up wrong, but if our intentions were right, God watches the heart. This is where devotion is. This is where calmness comes. And then when the chitta is calm, you say, oh Lord, I wanted to serve, like St. Francis. God said, establish my church. And he went about building an old church. Well, God clarified after some time, I want you to reestablish the principles of the church, uphold my spirit in the church and all those things. So one thing leads to the other. It starts with, again, I will repeat, calming the heart through yoga, through proper music, proper diet, through the yamas and niyamas, through chanting, through a heartfelt, sincere prayer, through meditation, Master said. Then, when we understand we are in duality, we approach our yoga practice becomes more efficient because we understand why are we doing yoga. It's not just to lose weight or to improve our insomnia or to overcome some habit. It is ultimately to break these shackles of karma, to understand what does God want. If God knows I exist, what is his plan for me? If I'm really calling him father, mother, friend, I need to understand what is his expectation of me individually, just like Peter was able to answer that question. And then with that yoga practice, we sit in the stillness longer and longer and longer. And as Master would say, through self-effort, grace comes. And when grace comes, as many as received him, gave he the power to become sons of God. That grace is the uplifting power of God. That intuition, which in the beginning comes by our efforts, by, again, as I was saying, by that relaxation and all, but ultimately in higher and higher octaves, it comes from God and Guru. And there are so many stories. Like, remember, I'll just say one or two, like Master telling Swamiji, Swami, you had a beautiful heart that wanted to help people. And he was accepting left and right people, I shouldn't say maybe left and right, but a lot of people in the monastery. And about this one case, Swami said, he was telling Master, so I've included this person and at this person. And Master said, I'm going to have to give you some intuition over here. And basically what he was saying is and then one time Swami really wanted to give somebody a job, and Master said, see if they have the right spirit. And then Swami started explaining, oh sir, this person knows the job and such. And Master said, if you only could see their karma. That again, when the heart gets emotional. Now, I'm not saying a calm heart does not have feeling. Actually, Kriyanandaji said, calm feeling is love. Think about that. When we are calm, like a mother from a distance, she knew her child is in trouble. That's a calm feeling. Mother's love sometimes can be called a bit too much emotional. I don't think so. It's so often the case. There is not so much an attachment. There is a concern, care. It's a self-giving love. Again, fathers too, but mothers, women in general have more of the feeling quality. When that feeling quality is calm, we can easily perceive. And so again, friends, Master was telling Swami, I need to give you that intuition. I'd like to close with this remarkable story, that happened in my own life, which showed me that how in my medical practice alone, I could apply intuition. Just to bring this from soul intuition to, you might say, your daily interaction with someone. Years ago, I had a yoga student in Lavasa city, and one day she brought her daughter who was having sinusitis. Now, she had been having sinusitis for many years. So basically, they came in my clinic and she said, oh, doctor, she's got a bad attack of sinusitis, and can you please give her a good antibiotic? Now, you wouldn't get an antibiotic in Lavasa because it's a small place without a doctor's prescription. So I said, okay, so you've just come to me for a prescription for my signature. She said, no, you can take a look at her also. You are the doctor. Now, I was looking at her and she was a young student, college student, but her energy was a bit too low for sinusitis alone to have caused it. So I was thinking, and in that moment, I just prayed. I usually pray to Yoganandaji or Swamiji that if I'm not understanding what's going on. So I was writing my notes and I prayed, what's really happening over here? It's not so much about the nose and all. Yes, there was a lot of blockage and swelling, but I just had this feeling, the thought came, why don't you ask, what does she eat? I said, do you eat chicken? That was the specific question. And she said, her jaw fell. She said, the mom said, her dad and this girl were only eating chicken morning, evening, and afternoon, to such a degree, friends, that I realized there was a bit too much toxicity, you might say. They were not eating enough protein, enough fiber, and all that. And anyway, I changed her diet, juices, leafy vegetables, things like that. She got better. Just a couple months later, she was diagnosed with an ovarian tumor, however, which was over 12 centimeters in size. Fortunately, it was benign. But you see, in our daily interaction, again, also, as Master said, if you're hiring somebody, if you're talking to somebody, if you're trying to counsel somebody, if you're trying to make a medical decision, investment decision, go with the heart. What is happening beneath the surface? And you'll be surprised. This is how we exercise. You could be wrong again, but you've tested it. So one thing leads to the other. Based on small decisions, we build our intuition ultimately, as Swamiji used to do, till we can ask God every day, what do you want? What do you want? And then let your life go by His will. And then you meet the right people, the right things happen, the right opportunities come. And we say, oh, I'm feeling a higher power is guiding me. Oh, I feel I'm moving in that direction. And those qualities, again, of calmness of heart, of joy, of soul intuition. What is God realization? It is all those positive qualities that we experience in meditation. Those start increasing. And then we too could say, like Peter someday, hopefully, that, oh yes, I know who my guru is. I know what God is. I can feel Him within and without. So with that, I'd like to close this beautiful subject of reason versus intuition. Thank you so much for joining. And let's close with a healing prayer now. Let's take a moment to uplift our hearts, joy, to include and to share it with all, especially those who might be facing challenges in body, mind, and spirit. Let us see them healed, uplifted, guided by the light of the great masters. Let us see their hearts open to God and His guidance. Let's pray together. Divine Mother, Thou art omnipresent. Thou art in all Thy children. Manifest Thy healing presence in all bodies, minds, and souls. Let's rub our hands together and let's send these blessings out into the world. Have a wonderful day ahead, friends. Have a nice week ahead. Thank you for joining.